And a TGIF, everybody. Welcome into the First Call podcast, presented by First Bet and Express Bet. He's Jeff Siegel. I'm Jeremy Plonk, and we handicap stakes races on this podcast each and every week, but sometimes there's news breaking in horse racing that also kind of supersedes some of the handicapping. This morning at Sutherland, England, it was City of Troy, the Epsom Derby winner, getting a prep on the synthetic, Jeff, to get ready for the Breeders' Cup Classic. He was set up in a team drill with Aidan O'Brien with four other of his stablemates. Set the stage for this kind of horse that we're looking at, City of Troy, as he heads towards the Breeders' Cup. Give us a sense of how good he might be, and then we'll let the fans take a look and listen at his work this morning.
Well, his form speaks for itself. I mean, he's a brilliant, brilliant racehorse, and he's versatile enough to have won races on the lead or from way, way back. This one was designed with an orchestrated team drill to take him back a little bit and then, get not dirt in his face because there was no dirt,
right,
but to see how he would react in traffic and see how he would accelerate if when given his clue. And I clocked the workout, which is basically a team drill, in 1:38.3. I don't know what that means on that track. I got it from a standing start, so he obviously did well time-wise. Visually, he's such a beautiful mover. What an athlete he is. And he's smart, too. He strikes me as the kind of colt that you can take him back and let him settle, and he will go when the button is pushed. All in all, and I haven't seen any quotes from Aidan O'Brien yet because this just happened a few minutes before we recorded this video, but I think he had to have been pleased. And how much work he needs between now and Breeders' Cup Day will remain to be seen. But, I mean, if I liked him before, I certainly like him even more now based on what we just saw.
Let's go to the video. This is Sky Sports Racing, commentary from the Sky Sports commentators there. He'll be the 3, City of Troy, in the dark navy. All the different Coolmore horses wearing different silks in here, but he's got the dark navy cap, the dark navy silks, and will be from post position 3. They go from the gate here and get the full tutorial up towards the Breeders' Cup.
Stand side the American gates, and they jump away to work over the mile. And the early pace comes from the inside. Congo River goes on from Democracy. City of Troy's taken a sit back in third place on the rail. Edwardian pushes forward towards the outside in the purple silks. And Master of the Hunt just in front of City of Troy as they work down the back stretch at Southall. And City of Troy's last of the 5 as they head towards the turn out of the back stretch. The early pace coming from Congo River. Congo River has the lead by about 2 lengths. Pushed along in second, Edwardian. On the outside is Democracy. Master of the Hunt in behind those, and toying with them at the minute to the back of the field is City of Troy. As you would expect, he's got a good couple of stone in hand of this rivals. Edwardian drops away up the final turn. Congo River with the lead. Democracy, City of Troy breezes up in between horses. Master of the Hunt on his outside, down towards the home stretch at Southall. And Democracy with the lead, but here comes down towards the 2-pole City of Troy. Arriving there full of running. Nearly 4 in a line as they come down towards the final furlong, but City of Troy easing into the leads. As you would expect, is well clear on the official figures and into the closing stages. Ryan Moore just asking City of Troy to quicken. And the Derby winner goes away towards the line. Quickens nicely in the closing stages. And City of Troy has its workouts for the...
Sold about 1,500 tickets to Southall to see that workout this morning or this afternoon in England. Just again, accomplished just a little bit before 11 o'clock or so Eastern time here in the U.S. It was afternoon there in Southall. A good looking move, I thought. This is what you want to see from him. They got some education out of it, as you mentioned, taking him to the back, then going around doing everything easily. He will be one of the favorites for the Breeders' Cup Classic if he gets there healthy to this point. White Abario, the defending champ in the Breeders' Cup Classic, announced yesterday he will not make it back to the race. He's been in poor form this year, but no White Abario in the title defense. That's also news in this Breeders' Cup Classic division. Of course, Fierceness won the Travers Stakes, and he will not have another prep leading up to the Breeders' Cup. So he's in the clubhouse waiting. We will see Forever Young out of Japan, the runner-up in the Kentucky Derby. He'll come back the first weekend in October. in the Japan Cup Dirt. So this is what we're looking at right now. In a week from Saturday, the Cali Crown, the California Crown, will feature 2 Bob Bafferts in there of note, National Treasure, last year's Dirt Mile winner in the Breeders' Cup, and Muth, the Arkansas Derby winner, trying to see if he can advance towards the Classic. So we've got a lot of news and notes and things moving along in the Breeders' Cup Classic division here over the next 7-8 days, Jeff.
No, it's going to be a really top class field, not just a good field. If everybody makes it there, and of course, when you got the Derby winner from overseas, City of Troy, who is a son of Justify, and you think he'll handle dirt. Justify obviously did, although the Justify's run on anything. This colt obviously performed well on turf, and we just saw how he handled the all-weather. Now the next step is to try to duplicate his top-class form on dirt, and I think he'll do that based on what I just saw. Again, a very athletic, beautiful long stride, push-button type of horse, certainly proven at the distance and with enough tactical speed to lay in the second flight, I would think, in a race that, as of right now, projects to have a pretty good pace in it. So I just hope it all works out, because it'll be a Breeders' Cup Classic for the ages.
Can't wait to see that one coming up the first weekend in November. A lot of news to go between now and then. Also, some news to talk about in the immediate. If you're gambling today on Friday as we record our podcast, it's Presque Isle Masters Day at Presque Isle Downs in Erie, Pennsylvania. Their big card today has Roses for Deborah as the favorite in the Presque Isle Masters. She'll be tough in there. And also Aqueduct horse players, Belmont at Aqueduct, $159,000 carryover in the pick 6. Nobody's hit the pick 6 so far this week. It's 0 for 2 in terms of the public trying to take it down on Wednesday and Thursday. 2-day carryover now into day 3, 159,000 plus into the pick 6 at Aqueduct. Tonight at Remington Park, trio of stakes races for the Oklahoma bred. So good day of racing around the country for a Friday, to be sure. And Parx and Presque Isle have a new bet. You can play it beginning today. It's a 15% takeout pick 4, the Pennsylvania pick 4. And someone who is a native and resident of the Commonwealth, I can get behind that, and the lower takeout certainly better than what we're used to on a daily basis in Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania pick 4 today will take part from Presque Isle to tomorrow's card at Parx on Pennsylvania Derby Day. That pick 4 will be the races of the Presque Isle Mile and the Presque Isle Masters today, to tomorrow's Cotillion featuring Torpedo Anna, and also the Pennsylvania Derby. Might be a Pennsylvania pick 3 of sorts with Torpedo Anna in there. So be sure to take part in that. You'll get a 1 million points hit and split with First Bet and Express Bet if you play that Pennsylvania pick 4 and are able to take it down. So be sure to play it with us, First Bet and Express Bet. Time now to take a look at the list of races Jeff and I will handicap for Saturday. I'd like to welcome in everybody watching on video on YouTube and on X. Be sure to like, share this out, put comments in the section, help us grow the audience. And for the benefit of our longtime audio listeners, here are the races Jeff and I will handicap over the next 40 minutes or so. To Belmont at the Big A on Saturday, we will start things off with the Noble Damsel Stakes. That goes as race number 8 on the card, Turf Mile there. Gulfstream Park has one of its top sprint races of the year, the Grade 2 Princess Rooney Stakes, 7-furlong sprint there, race number 10 on the card. That's next up. To Churchill Downs on a series of stakes races on Saturday, where we will look at 2 of those. It's races 7 and 8 on the card, the Bourbon Flight, followed by the Dogwood Stakes, Grade 3 for the Dogwood. At Parx, it's a huge day. We haven't even mentioned the Superstar Marathoner next running at 1-20 odds, no doubt about it, in the Greenwood Cup. The stakes races we will handicap for good gambling purposes, the Gallant Bob, the Cotillion, and the Pennsylvania Derby. They will be races 11, 12, and 13 in succession from Parx. And we'll wrap it up at Los Alamitos, final weekend of the Los Alamitos before we shift to Santa Anita in another week's time or so. It's the Dark Mirage Stakes as the feature race on the card. Again, to remind you, we've got that good pick 4 promo, 1 million points hit and split today on the Pennsylvania pick 4. Other promos for the weekend you want to keep an eye on: a $10 money back special at Gulfstream Park on that Princess Rooney Stakes. That means your Princess Rooney win bet, you get up to $10 back if they happen to run second or third. So a little insurance there. And at Parx on Saturday, great promo. Be sure, if you're going to bet the Parx Pennsylvania Derby Day card, do it with First Bet and Express Bet, because if you bet $150, you get $25 back. So a nice rebate there. So bet $150, get $25 back Saturday on the Parx card. All right, Jeff, let's go to Belmont at the Big A to start things off on the Saturday handicapping. The Noble Damsel Stakes, Grade 3 Turf Mile in here for the fillies and mares. Frankie Dettori listed on the One Ocean Club in here. A little news and note there. Frankie dislocated his shoulder in a spill yesterday. His status of being able to ride it doesn't look good, but I haven't heard any official word on how long he may be out, but keep an eye out there. Frankie Dettori listed on the One Ocean Club, but Dettori nursing a bum shoulder right now. How do you see this race number 8 at the Big A?
Well, you got 3 Chad Browns in here, which is kind of normal. I ended up looking, and first of all, I don't think there'll be much pace in this race, even for a mile. But in grass racing, excuse me, it's often the horse, regardless of pace, that can really quicken that last quarter of a mile. Alluring Angel really impressed me. And while she may have to run into some slower splits, she did that obviously in a lesser race when last seen back in June over this course and distance, when she won very nicely from last, coming against the grain. And that was her first start since joining Chad Brown's barn. This filly's only had 7 starts with 3 different trainers, but she's pretty consistent and has really gotten good lately. And I don't know why she missed Saratoga, but she has a healthy work pattern since mid-August, so something must have gone wrong. But if she can, she can fire fresh because she won her debut, so I think the layoff won't hurt her. And if she can be somewhere within striking range at the head of the lane, and if this race is reduced to a quarter of a mile sprint, Alluring Angel strikes me as the kind of lightly raced English-bred filly on the way up who might be able to outkick anybody, even though she's going to have to really do quicken in the final furlong. But so it's 6-1. That's the thing for me, is the gamble there at 6-1 for Alluring Angel. She's never been this good, but then she's only had 7 starts. We don't know how good she really is. For me, number 5, Alluring Angel, mild surprise in the Noble Damsel.
Taking the higher price of a Chad Brown or a Bob Baffert often works out well for you. So good value play there. 6-1 in the morning line. The Noble Damsel, top pick, Alluring Angel for Jeff. Let's go to the Princess Rooney Stakes. It's race number 10 on the card on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. This is also our Express Bet race of the week. You can get my full analysis and write up each week on the Express Bet race of the week. A couple different ways. Sign up for the email newsletter at Express Bet or First Bet. Also, you can sign up on my Substack, Jeremy.Plonk at Substack, and you can get my Substack comments sent to you to your email inbox each and every week. And we also have some big Keeneland meet analysis coming up there through the Substack, so be sure to check that out. The Princess Rooney 7 furlong sprint here, named for the inaugural winner of the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Of course, Princess Rooney started her career in South Florida, ended up being a Hall of Famer. She only won 17 at 21, Jeff. She wasn't too bad.
I knew her well because Neil Drysdale had her out here in California.
Yep.
Eddie D used to ride her. Great filly, just a tremendous filly, kind of an off-the-wall pedigree, but she didn't know that. And always loved her. Had horses with Neil back in the 80s, and I'd see her every day in the barn, and became one of my favorites. And of course, in her first win in the Breeders' Cup, I mean, it was so funny. Everybody's whipping and driving at the 8th ball, and Eddie D's just sitting there on the lead like, you think you're going to catch me? So never really reproduced herself as a broodmare, but boy, was she a fun racehorse. And again, as he pointed out, began her career in South Florida. Now, in this race, I went with the bottom filly, Beth's Dream. I'm a horse for type of guy, and 8 out of 10 at Gulfstream kind of caught my eye here, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Numbers are very solid, very consistent. Last 4 Byron numbers, 93, 95, 96, 94. Thoroughly dependable and consistent. Perfect style for 7 furlongs. She's not blazingly quick, but she's quick enough to always be where she needs to be. And I think she's has the ideal style for this extended sprint distance. Love the outside draw where she can kind of pick her spot. And, she's 9-5. She's supposed to run well, but I really do trust her to run her race.
This looks to me like a 2-horse race. It's Beth's Dream, who's got plenty of speed, and then the cutback runner, Soul of an Angel, who's just got tremendous company line. She's been running against Idiomatic, Randomized, Raging Sea. I mean, she's running against the best in the division. She only has one-turn race on her resume that you can see on the form. It was in the Ruffian Stakes, and she ran a massive one in a 1-turn mile. Now she's got to cut back to 7/8. Seems to me like it's going to be Beth's Dream's race to lose at the 8th pole, and we'll see if Soul of an Angel can come get her. I've got it down to those two. You got Mary Quite Contrary, who just missed in this race as the favorite last year. She hasn't been in nearly as good a form as she once was. So to me, it comes down to Soul of an Angel and Beth's Dream. Beth's Dream hasn't been in a graded stakes race. We talk about the company lines of the other filly, Soul of an Angel. We haven't seen Beth's Dream in a graded stakes since 2022. So let's give the fans a little chance to learn more about Beth's Dream. Take a look at her last race and also an interview that Gulfstream did recently with trainer Victor Barbosa.
They went to half in 45 and 4, and they're at the top of the lane. The leader is Best Dream. Wheels for home on top by 2. Charlie's Wish second. From between horses, Mary Quite Contrary at the rail. It's a Monra. They come past the 8th pole. Best Dream, roused by Jaramillo, striding clear to a 2-length lead. Trying to get into second is Charlie's Wish with Mary Quite Contrary. To the wire, Best Dream will win the sheer drama as the public pick. She defeats Mary.
The perfect day for the old trainer and the old owner in the United States and the world. She's won in the. My plan is move the mare 1 month before California. She's neat in the looks, in the training. She's in the paddock and the gate. This is my plan, bro. The first, I need one in the saddle. I need the drama for she's never won in 7 furlong. I need the race before in the Princess Rooney. For the 7 furlong is different pace. For the 1 mile, for me, my mare is much better in the 1 mile. She is, I honestly for you, impressive for me, the moment in the race, in the finish 1 furlong, she's more speed. It's very good news for me for the next race. For she is very happy now. It's very good for the owner and for me, the rest in the last year for the farm. Very good news for me, for Jaramillo. The position outside is very good. For my mare is very high mare. The race is only 9 mares, 8 mares. I think my mare is for the position, I think around second, third. This is my plan. I don't know. The Safiosi have 2 good filly and 1 good mare. For the race in the next Saturday, the pace for me is very fast.
So a fast pace, a little bit of concern. He thinks Safi's got some horses who could run there, and they're trying to get to California, Jeff. So will they be using this as a prep? He said if they run second or third, they'll feel pretty good about it. Beth's Dream, top choice for Jeff in the stakes race, the Princess Rooney. I'm going to go with the filly on the cutback in there. My filly in there is Soul of an Angel, one of the Safi Josephs that he's talking about. Drayden Van Dyke rising there. To me, it comes down to those two. I can't see anybody else.
Yeah, no, that's true. The only reason why, well, not the only, but one of the reasons I went with the filly that we just talked about here, Beth's Dream, is that she knows how to win races, and Soul of the Angel likes to run second and third a little bit more.
That's true.
So I think that's the exact of those two, one way or the other.
Yep, take them one way or the other. Give it a cold punch is one punch, as Dick Girardi likes to say in the handicapping circles. Won't pay much, so you got to be right on one side or the other. Let's go to Churchill Downs on Saturday. The stakes races on the card include the Bourbon Flight and the Dogwood. They will go as races 7 and 8 on the card in succession. We're going to start things off in the Bourbon Flight. This is a mile and 3/16, $300,000, and these are 3-year-old colts. Mile and 3/16 for 3-year-olds. You're thinking this is the Preakness. Not really the Preakness, but we've got some horses in here people know. Hades is in this particular spot. Joe Orsino won the Holy Bull with that one earlier in the year. Batten Downs in here, a horse that we've seen in the Ohio Derby, the Travers, some big races. Mugatu's a horse who made it to the Preakness Stakes this year. So some horses that we're familiar with in the Bourbon Flight. Jeff, how do you see it shaking out?
Well, I'm going to go with a horse that I like, but I wouldn't necessarily play him at 2-1 if, in fact, that's what he goes off at. That's his morning line, number 6, Illuminaire. He's a weird horse for me to figure out. The one thing that I am absolutely sure of, though, is that he will handle the distance to ground. He's never been around 2 turns. I always say the first time is always their best. But being by City of Light, I think he will improve over distance to ground. He's also kind of a lazy horse. I watched him breathe before he ever ran. Didn't like him at all. He didn't show anything in the morning, and yet he goes out there and wins, and then he comes back and wins again. And I think he's the kind of horse that's kind of laid back and again, lazy. He doesn't really tip his hand, which is kind of weird. I mean, for a horse who I think is pretty good. I think he'll run a distance to ground. You have to ask him to do everything, but he does it. Now he's going to have to step forward, and he's going to try a new distance, but he strikes me as the kind of horse that leaves his best when it counts. And I will find out whether or not that's true or not in this race. He's running against Batten Down. Now, follow along with me, Jeremy, and tell me if you agree with this on Batten Down. He's 6-5 in the morning line. Looks like he should win. He won the Ohio Derby. He was third in the Jim Danny and the Travers, and those are two much tougher races. The last two. It's understandable that he wasn't up to the task for those two races. I mean, those are the best in the division. But I'm afraid taking a horse that had got his head handed to him 2 straight times against tougher horses, dropping back and assuming that he's going to be where he was 3 races back. It doesn't always work that way, especially at a short price. So if Batten Down regresses, which is a possibility, it could open the door for a horse like Illuminaire, who's moving up in class, got all the confidence in the world, and might be this good anyway.
Let's take a look at Illuminaire in action.
Classic Legacy on the outside, and Illuminaire, and they're putting on a show coming to the furlong pole. 5 back now to Aberdeen, racing on the outside of Cunchin Bridge. Illuminaire asserts himself with a 16th of a mile to go, putting away Classic Legacy. Another good-looking effort from Illuminaire, strolling in by 3.5.
Let's turn the page from race 7 to race 8 on Saturday at Churchill. It's the Grade 3 Dogwood Stakes. 3-year-old fillies going 7 furlongs here. September meet for the Dogwood, one of the races that could get you set maybe towards a Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint tackling of the elder horses. We've got a couple preps at Keeneland that'll also help set the table for the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint. Jeff, let's talk about who you like in this particular one.
Well, there's a term that I like to use, maybe I overuse it, but when I describe a young horse as being progressive, that usually means that they're in a form cycle that continues to improve with racing. Now, Fibber was claimed 3 races back for $100,000. Based on form, that looked like a lot of money, at that time.
Right.
But since then, look at what has she done. She's won an allowance race. She came back and won the Audubon Oaks, and her numbers have skyrocketed for her new connections. And I really do believe that she can continue to improve. She's only had the 10 starts now in Chris Hartman's mind, and in both races she sat off the pace and then accelerated in the final 16th of a mile. And she did not have a clear trip in her last race, so it was actually better than it would look like on form. And the 95 buyer is powerful for this lightly raced 3-year-old filly by Frosted. So 3-1 in the morning line, obviously in graded company now, grade 3. But for me, Fibber is progressing, and I think if she can produce just another small forward move, she can continue her winning pattern.
And you say she's stepping up in class, but if you look at the running lines, the filly she beat last time, Tarifa, she's been at the highest levels of the 3-year-old filly class all year long. So that was a quality opponent she knocked off at Ellis. Let's take a look back.
Fibber is crying out for room. Tambo's been very deep. Addogate's at the back. Now Fibber tips into the 3-path, and she comes with her run. Tarifa and Minx Palace, they better recognize Fibber, who means business to the outside. And here comes Fibber storming home. Fibber gets to the front. Tarifa's back to second. Minx Palace retreats. It's all about Fibber and Axel Concepcion in the Audubon Oaks. Tarifa second, then Addogate, Minx Palace, and Tambo.
So it's Fibber stepping up to the grade 3 Dogwood Stakes, Jeff's top pick there at Churchill on Saturday. Let's shift now our scene from Louisville, Kentucky to Bensalem, PA. Maybe the Phillies can clinch the NL East this weekend. They need to beat the Mets a couple times here to get that done. The Gallant Bob Stakes, the Cotillion, and the Pennsylvania Derby, the 3 races that we will handicap, races 11, 12, and 13 on the biggest card of the year. In the state of Pennsylvania, PA Derby Day. So let's start off with the Gallant Bob Stakes. Jeff, this is a 3-year-old sprint. We've had some really good winners of this race over the years, and these horses often end up in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. They're just restricted to 3-year-olds here, but a good purse, grade 2, $400,000, and they're going that Breeders' Cup Sprint distance of 6 furlongs. Some names in here people might know. You've got Ben Tornado, the horse who was so good last year in the Florida Sire Stakes series. You've got a horse like Buccarino in here coming off a nice victory last time out, and Sunny Breeze, a horse who really got off to a fast start in his career for Ned Allard, got upset last time out by Buccarino in the local prep race. How do you see this one shaking out?
Well, again, I'm looking at a progressive young horse in Buccarino, a 3-year-old colt who coming off a career top number, winning a stakes here over this main tracks at 6.5. He won that race from the rail. He's pretty quick, but he's clearly the kind of horse that can sit close up and maybe sit second if he had to. But again, his last race was his most impressive to date. Lightly raced, knows how to win. And again, I go back to my horse for course theory, 3 for 3 at Parx.
Yeah.
And the best was to come in his most recent start, where he dominated and just drew off in powerful fashion. This is, again, a more competitive field than he just beat. But as you mentioned, he just beat a very nice horse that we had liked all along, and Sonny Breeze kind of just handed his hat to him in that last race. So I don't see any reason why he can't continue to improve. So I'm going to go number 3 at 4-1, Bucarino, to win the Gallant Bob.
Most of these coming out of the local prep in this race, the Salvador de Bunda Stakes. So it's kind of a rematch, and really we expect usually some heavy hitters in the 3-year-old sprint division to show up in this race. It didn't happen this year. Ben Tornado was nice. He's coming out of a second in the Robert R. Hilton Memorial at Charlestown. Of course, he was third in the Saudi Derby earlier this year, but he did most of his work against the restricted company last year early in the Florida Sire Stakes series. So even with Irad, Jose D'Angelo, there's some name recognition there from around the country that the Park horses might not have. But, he hasn't won yet this year, and he doesn't necessarily have to. We know that Parx track can be a little funky. Some horses show up there and just don't like it. Probably none more famous than California Chrome, who really struggled over that track there. So we shall see what we get. But I think Ben Tornado will be favored in there. Hopefully you get a good price on your horse. Bucarino, top choice for Jeff in race number 11, that being the Gallant Bob. To the 12th we go, the Cotillion Stakes. And yes, this looks like a free square. It's Torpedo Anna looking to just continue her dominance of the 3-year-old filly division. She's not the most likely winner on the card, though. That'll be Next, who runs in the Goodwood Cup, the 1.5-mile turf marathon, where he is going to be a very, very short price. We expect Torpedo Anna to be very short as well, Jeff. She'll probably be 1 to 5 or so in this particular race, coming out of that big effort in the Travers Stakes. Let's go back and relive that one. Maybe the race of the year so far, with Fierceness holding on and her giving her all to the wire and coming up just short in the Travers.
The new leader, Fierceness, 3/4 in 1:11.3. They're at the top of the stretch, and Fierceness takes command. Sierra Leone is coming with his run on the outside of Torpedo Anna, who's currently second. They're in the final furlong. Johnny V asking Fierceness for everything he has. 3-length lead. Torpedo Anna running her heart out and coming with every stride. Fierceness, Torpedo Anna in an absolutely dramatic conclusion. The champ is back. Fierceness holds off a gallant Torpedo Anna to win the DraftKings Travers. Sierra Leone was third.
The race of the year to this point. We'll see what happens by the time we get to the Breeders' Cup. Maybe we'll see some of those same names rematched, but you would expect that Torpedo Anna's using this race for the Breeders' Cup distaff. I don't think there's any illusions that she's going to go back against the boys at 1.25 miles in the Classic. So how do you see this one shaping up and projecting her forward?
Well, again, you're going to evaluate this race based on what Torpedo Anna does. If she struggles, wins the race by a length and looks like she's all out and doesn't run particularly fast, that's going to throw a question mark into her current form and what the gut-wrenching effort that she produced in the Travers Stakes might have done to her form. And yet, if you look at her work tab, I mean, she's been breezing. She had a bullet work at Saratoga on the 14th just a week ago. I mean, I don't think Kenny would be running her unless he thought she was spot on. She doesn't need the resume building win. She's already going to be champion filly. I think we're just going to look at her and see whether Kenny may have a change of heart and maybe decide to run her in the Classic. If she runs like she's capable of running and demolishes this field like she's supposed to. But if not, then she'll settle for the Breeders' Cup distaff. And I think that would be great as well. I don't think she'll be 4 to 5. I think she has 1 to 5 written all over her. But it's not a gamble. It's just more of an observation as to trying to evaluate where she's at after what had to have been an all-out effort. And sometimes, again, they used to call it bouncing and whatever, regressing. We'll see if she's the same filly today as she was when she ran Fierceness to a head in the Travers, which was an amazing race for her. I wouldn't know who to try to beat her with. Let's put it that way. So I'll watch the race and hope that she performs up to standard, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Gunsong, the filly who won the Black Eyed Susan in this particular spot. She's coming off a win in the local prep, the Catherine Sophia. Johnny V rides there for Mark Hennig. You got Tarifa. We had mentioned that well-bred Godolphin filly when we were talking about Fibber running at Churchill. Tarifa's going to take on the big ones here. Again, she's been in some of the big races, the Fairgrounds Oaks, Kentucky Oaks. She's a quality filly. I think the X factor in this race, and I do not think she's going to win by any stretch, but she's a different element than what we've seen for Torpedo Anna at this point, is Mystic Lake. This is a pure sprinter. I don't know why they're running her here at 1 mile and a 16th, but she's fast. And Safi Joseph brings her in. Mike Smith rides. She's really quick. I don't know, thinking back on the resume, I'm sure there was somebody in the Acorn probably that was a really top sprinter, because, that race, the Acorn, but it was 1 mile and an 8 this year. So maybe not even in the Acorn. I don't know if Torpedo Anna's had a race against just a really top-notch sprinter before. Will she drag this field faster than they want to go? Will Torpedo Anna I don't want to say panic, but get the urge to go tackle and try to go up and get her? She could really make a different element in a race than what we've seen for Torpedo Anna. So that's the most interesting thing about this race, because if it was just Tarifa, Power Squeeze, Gunsong, match it up against her again, you're like, okay, this is this is cookie cutter, right? We've seen that a million times. This is a different look, though. So I think it's going to make it interesting. And I think she'll win again. And I think she'll prove that, that she could take on all kinds of different scenarios. But I think it's an interesting scenario that she hasn't really faced.
Well, maybe she got tricked into believing that she could handle 2 turns in her last start.
Yeah, Charlestown, right?
That's a 2 turn 7/8.
Yeah.
She tried it earlier in her career as a 2-year-old and wasn't quite up to that, but she could easily be better now than then. And if they don't respect her and let her loose on the lead, I mean, if you're looking for something to maybe hook up Torpedo Anna with, if you want to play it, then maybe she gets loose in the lead and can hang on for second, if nothing else. So, she's a new shooter in a race that probably could need one, because the other ones that we see here are they are what they are. They're good fillies, but they're not Torpedo Anna.
Just a different kind of sparring partner, to use a boxing analogy, right? Instead of just kind of like a heavy-handed person that you're sparring with all the time. Now all of a sudden you got somebody who wants to throw a flurry of punches. Could be just a different look for her, but I think she'll be highly successful. Torpedo Anna, I don't see her getting beat. She's a single in the multi-race wager. She's a single in that Pennsylvania pick 4 over 2 days from Prescott to Parx that we talked about earlier. She's just something else. And I think she goes on to the Breeders' Cup Distaff as a fairly solid favorite. I don't know, with a Dare Manor kind of up in the air with the way things have gone for her and the public sentiment towards Torpedo Anna. I think if she wins this race convincingly, that she'll be a fairly solid favorite, right or wrong. Maybe you think Dare Manor is better than her, but I think she'll be a fairly solid favorite in the Breeders' Cup Distaff if she wins this race with any authority.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, we haven't seen a Dare Manor breeze since she tied up and had to be scratched a couple weeks back at Del Mar. I'll watch her here at Santa Anita and training. I mean, we need her in that race at Dare Manor, one way or the other.
Right.
And if not, you're going to have a 3-5, 2-5 favorite. So hopefully, Dare Manor, who was a horse for course at Del Mar and a high-class mare herself, will find herself on the work tab pretty soon, because she's missed some time now, and I don't know where she's at in terms of her fitness.
Maybe the best gamble, the way to use Torpedo Anna, is through daily doubles, rolling doubles. We talked about race 11 into race 12 with the Gallant Bob into the 12th, then in the 12th onto the 13th, being the Pennsylvania Derby next. Nice field size in the Pennsylvania Derby. Might be a better shot than trying to track down the exacta behind Torpedo Anna. So if you're looking for the way to utilize Torpedo Anna on this card, single in the multi-race wagers, and then maybe look at some rolling doubles, the Gallant Bob into the Cotillion, then the Cotillion into the Pennsylvania Derby. That's where we go next. Race 13 on the card. 11 of them have entered this year's Pennsylvania Derby, $1 million. Of course, these are 3-year-olds going 1 mile and an 8th at Parx. Dragoon Guard is the 9-5 morning line favorite. Stronghold, the 5-2 second choice. They matched up and were fairly evenly matched in the Indiana Derby 2 starts ago. Since Since then, though, Dragoon Guard went on to run maybe his best race, winning the West Virginia Derby.
Society Man is going to get the inside run. Inside Dragoon Guard. No, he's not. Dragoon Guard closed the gap, so Society Man comes to the outside. Out wide, Dematic is starting to put in a run as Henro drops back. It's Dragoon Guard in front. Dematic on the outside going to second from Society Man, but it's Dragoon Guard. It's Dragoon Guard's West Virginia Derby, winning by 3 lengths over Dematic. Third.
He'll go for his third stakes win in a row. Dragoon Guard, again, Indiana Derby, West Virginia Derby to Pennsylvania as he makes that regional sweep. Jeff, the field also includes the Preakness winner, Seize the Gray. He's looking to snap an 0-for-2 streak where he was beaten a dozen lengths in the Belmont and Jim Dandy. This is definitely a drop in class for Seize the Gray, the D. Wayne Lucas trainee. How do you see the Pennsylvania Derby?
I had a really hard time with this. I ended up picking Dragoon Guard, but at 9-5 in the morning line, with a horse that looks like he wants the lead, or that's where he's been in his last 3 races. I'm not saying he needs the lead, but he's been the beneficiary of some soft trips, and now he might have to be a little sharper, maybe. I don't know, because there is other speed in here, and he may have to prove that he can win laying second or third. Again, the splits that he's been blessed with recently have been really slow, and he's been on the lead. On the other hand, he's by Arrogate. He's supposed to get better with age. I'm sure he will. Numbers are solid. So I think we'll find out where he's going to be. I mean, his form, he's won 4 in a row by daylight. You can't fault him for that. This is a logical spot for him to continue his career, and we'll see if he exerts his superiority here. I don't know whether there's a gamble here, Jeremy, and yet I looked around and I didn't really find anything that I liked. I didn't see it. So I'm going to pick him. I hope he turns out to be a good colt. We could use him in the division, into the 4-year-old division as well. I want to see a little bit more versatility. I want to see him to overcome a little bit more adversity than he's had to face so far. But again, I'm a little snobbish on the pedigree, so I think he will get better with age. And here's a race where he has a chance to step forward.
Dragoon Guard by Arrogate out of Philimby, definitely a blue blood. Unmatched Wisdom's a horse who, save for his last race, he might actually be favored in this spot. If he had never run in the Travers, he would be 3-for-3 undefeated, coming off of Buyers of 98, 93, and 99 when winning the Curlin for trainer Chad Brown. Flavian Pratt, Brown and Pratt. I mean, what a dynamic duo. And Pratt setting the record this year for most stakes wins during a meet at Saratoga. But he got bombed in the Travers Stakes with some excuse, but beaten 18 lengths in there. There are no fierceness worth the Rapido Annas or maybe even a Sierra Leone in this race. So what do you make of Unmatched Wisdom? It's Pratt, it's Brown, and I think they've got a shot here.
Well, on form, you'd have to say he does for sure. He'd won his first 3 starts for Chad Brown. He won it by daylight. He won, just off the pace or on the lead. And he entered in the Travers, and I said, man, this horse is really interesting. He's getting better. Maybe he's up to this task. And I went back and I said, I want to watch the races. I watched all 3 of his races with a very critical eye. Honestly, I did. And I came away saying, this horse is not that good. That's what I mean, his form is good. His numbers are good. But do I really think he can go out and beat those kind of horses based on what I've seen? And the answer was an abject no. And so he got beat a mile. And I wasn't surprised. And I don't think he's that good. I would, if you looked at the form, you'd say Unmatched Wisdom at 8-1 is a much better gamble than Dragoon Guard. But I think Dragoon Guard is better. I just do. I don't know. I'm not in love with either one of them, quite frankly. So, I looked at the other horses in the race, didn't come up with anything. So, like I say, at the top of the analysis here, I said to myself, I just can't grasp this one. I was hoping that you loved something so I could go on your coattails there, but nothing would surprise me here. I would wager. I mean, maybe even a horse like Timeout. I mean, he's a Curlin. Do I need any more excuses in the back of at a big price? Lightly raced, numbers are fairly competitive. He could be okay. So that's the kind of race it is for me.
Price horse in here, Butch Reed trainee Uncle Heavy, locally based. Reed, one of the top stakes trainers at Parx for decades now. Usually doesn't have a horse of this kind of quality to run in the Pennsylvania Derby, so I think it's a unique situation for him. And here, I thought he'd run better in the Smarty Jones, but that race was run like a turf race. It was pathetically slow, and they all just kind of, ran in place a bit. And Gould's Gold was a favorite in there for Kenny McPeak and won it. But a good even effort in that. Kind of you got what you wanted out of a prep where nobody was exerted, 25-48, almost 114 to the 6 furlong. So it's actually a pretty positive prep race when you don't want to leave your race on the track. So I give Uncle Heavy a little shot in here. I don't know what to make of the Preakness winner in here, Sees the Gray. I mean, he'll be praying for rain, I guess. The forecast doesn't look great for that right now. I'm looking out the window. I'm 2 hours from Parx, and it's beautifully sunny today. I have not actually looked at the forecast for tomorrow.
Can't bail out on Sees the Gray for the weather. Okay.
Yeah.
That's another horse. Other than the sloppy track gate to wire win that he had, that was a great accomplishment for Wayne Lucas. I'm not a Sees the Gray fan. I think he's just an overnight horse, allowance horse. But we'll see.
Let's switch now from Parx and head west to your area. We'll go from my area to your area, to Southern California, Los Alamitos. The Dark Mirage Stakes, $125,000 race, 1 mile around the paperclip oval there for Los Alamitos on the thoroughbred side. Show Card is a heavy 6-5 favorite coming off a win in the Tranquility Lake Stakes. Only won it by 10 last time.
Show Card is in full flight for the wire and opened up on them. And Show Card pulling away with each and every stride. 6, 7. You can pick your own number now. It doesn't matter. Show Card is just coming waltzing in under Juan Hernandez. Will win it by double figures in the end. Show Card could not have done it easier than that. Second place will go to Super Shine. Then came Yuki, Ascendancy, and Liberal Lady.
Jeff, if Show Card runs that one back, I think they'll probably be chasing her again.
Probably, but let's not forget that in that race, there's only 5 in the field, in this favorite and the third choice both got left at the gate. They were totally eliminated at the start. Mm-hmm. One stood there, and the other one made a right-hand turn leaving the gate. So there was nothing left for her to beat. And the 85 buyer number that she earned is just 1 point better than her maiden win and her allowance win. So I don't think she did anything out of the ordinary in that race, other than get lucky and win a race in which the 2 other horses that could actually run in that race got left. Mm-hmm. Having said that, she gets blessed again in this race called the Dark Mirage, going a mile at Los Alamitos, just 6 runners here. And she's 6-5 on the morning line. And she, Coffee in Bed is 8-5. I think she's going backwards. The other horses in the field just don't have the form. I think she'll win again. I think she's been blessed to find a couple of races here that are going to make her resume as a daughter of into mischief look maybe better than it really is. But hey, you need some luck in this game. Why not take advantage of it while you can get it? So I expect Show Card to win, but I don't think he's one of Bob's better older mares. I mean, he's got another filly named Hope Road who is 10 lengths better than this filly, and might run during the fall meeting, and could easily be a Breeders' Cup older filly and mare. She might be the stand-in for Dare Manor if Dare Manor doesn't make the race. Anyway, that's the 3-year-old filly from that barn at its high class. This one is just in the right spot at the right time.
Show Card, morning line favorite towards the Dark Mirage Stakes. Victorious one to watch in there for trainer Michael McCarthy, whose summer horses at Del Mar and stakes races were all on point. He brings this one in from Kentucky. First time on the West Coast for the McCarthy training. Maybe Victorious will find a group out there that she fits well with after exiting the Kentucky stakes ranks. Want to give a little update while we were watching that replay. I check the weather for Ben Salem tomorrow. Sunny and 80 degrees. Sorry, Sees the Gray. It's going to be nice tomorrow in the city of brotherly love. That's going to wrap up our handicapping for today's show. Of course, join us on Tuesday when we recap a big weekend of horse racing each and every week on It's Official. Our Tuesday podcast takes on 5 hot topics. Jeff and I will be back for that. Huge weekend of racing, though. If you're playing Gulfstream Park this weekend, you've got the Princess Rooney. You got Churchill with multiple stakes races, Pennsylvania Derby tomorrow at Parx, including all those superstars. When you get to see Next and Torpedo Anna on what's quote unquote the undercard, that's a treat for fans out there. Maybe not for horse players, but certainly the undercard will be a treat to watch and check out at Parx. And today, Presque Isle Masters and a big card there as well in Erie, Pennsylvania. So a lot of fun this weekend, Jeff.
Yeah, and you talk about going to watch Next Run and Torpedo Anna and all those great races, and some of them will be very short prices and you can't bet on them. But the sporting angle of going out to Parx to watch these Breeders' Cup potential winners, maybe certainly starters, will be well worth your while. It's like going to the Dodger-Miami game, and you're not going to see a game. You're going to see Shohei. You don't care if it's 20-4. You want to see it. Here's
50-50. Wow.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Right. So, you can go to a game and enjoy it, not worrying about who's going to win or lose. And you can go and watch races not having to bet on them. I mean, you'd like to, but if you can't, go out and enjoy yourself, see some great racing, and then we'll see the winners, I'm sure, out here in California next month. And hopefully everything works out well for them.
Ohtani went 6 for 6 with 3 home runs last night. I'm predicting Jeff Siegel's going to top him. He's going to go 8 for 8 on his picks here and pull an Ohtani this week on the First Call podcast. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.